So I was, well, first of all, it's been insanely cold here. And I don't know if you've ever seen, we broke all the records for snow. I don't know
For
if
snow? You got
yes.
snow?
Yep.
Hell
Well,
yeah.
we didn't get snow, as in New Smyrna Beach specifically. Pensacola got snow. Tallahassee got snow. Anywhere in North Florida got some snow.
Okay.
6 inches is what Pensacola got, which basically shatters the record from 1895.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I just want to let you know that we got snow in Florida, which is like you would think the apocalypse is happening or something, but that's not quite the case right now. But with that said, it's been pretty cold and it's pretty friggin' windy, dude. It's like 40-mile-an-hour winds
Oof.
regularly. Yeah, that's pretty insane. That part's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. High wind sucks.
Dude, yeah, it's pretty. I can handle cold, 32 degrees, 25 degrees, but if it's windy, I think it's the end. So
Mm.
it's like 40, and I think it's the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, did the 10K. So have you ran a 5K or 10K? I know it's a dumb question, but I wanted to start with that.
5K. Done a couple 5Ks.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not long enough to maybe this question does apply. So I did the 10K. There was 155 people registered, 156, doesn't matter. I'll start in the back because it's all about your chip time, not about the gun time. So when you're across the start line is when you start, even though you may
We've
be in
we've
the back.
moved on to chips. I haven't done it recently
Yes.
enough that we had chips. Okay.
Oh, yes. Okay. So now it's all about your chip time. So if you're just hanging out in the back, feeling some titties, and the other guy just goes out 2 minutes ahead, it's okay because you haven't started yet.
Yeah. Okay.
So I start in the back, because I know I'm kind of slow, but it's also weird for me because like I'm not a walker or a walk, run, walk guy. I'm like a regular runner, but not fast enough to be with the lead pack.
Yep.
Anyway, the point is, so I get past all the scrubs and I kind of find my pocket, which is basically the middle, right? I'm not slow as balls, but I'm not fast as hell. So I'm
Hmm.
kind of with the, semi scrubs just out here trying to make it. And like I don't run 6 miles regularly, right? So I was kind of a little bit like unsure on what, this sounds like a good pace. I'm hearing the things in my headphones, what pace I'm at and all that. So I'm like, okay. So there's a couple people around me, and there was one dude I would say he's about in my age group, right? And I was like, okay. And we're like neck and neck. So like side by side for a solid like almost a half mile. I'm like, what am I doing here? It's the beach. I could tail back and draft that ass.
That big of a deal.
So I like start to like slowly back off, and then I like take a slide right, and I get like, I wouldn't say I'm like feeling his feet, but like I'm behind him,
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
like starts to look over his shoulders and shit at me. I'm like, I don't know. Is this that serious? Like, like, because I'm trying to, conserve energy. I don't know. Like, no wind hit me. I don't know. I was trying to use them as a little drafting situation, but ended up feeling bad and got out of the way.
Just because he was looking at you?
Yeah.
You should have just been like, "Don't worry about it, dude."
Yeah. I
And
should
just
have.
stayed right on his
Yo,
heels.
you're doing great, bro.
Yeah.
uh, and then we got to the 2.5 mile mark. So almost where you turn around, pretty close, right? And come back. And I guess it's kind of weird because, in where I live and Daytona Beach, because the race was in Daytona Beach at the main tourist area. Anyway, but you run north towards Ormond Beach. So my point is when we hit where you can't drive on anymore. So down here, you can drive on the beach, and you've seen that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Cars.
Yeah.
Okay. Daytona
Yep.
Beach is the same way. But I think where you can't drive on anymore, which could be Ormond Beach. I don't know. But it stopped all loose sand, all like sandbox sand.
Oh, no. So it was just basically a mile of that because you had
Yeah.
half a mile up, half a mile back.
I got
And
wrecked
I
there.
bet we talked about that because I asked if it was going to be loose or hard sand because loose sand, and that's why I asked if you were wearing shoes just because I thought it was loose sand at the time.
Yeah. Only one dude did not wear shoes, and he was like top 15. Saw that guy.
Nah, serious.
Yeah. So I had like loose sand for roughly a half a mile plus. But when we came back, I went down to the ocean and ran close to the water, so it was more packed.
Okay, there you go.
The only negative is you're running like this.
Yeah, I'd still take that over loose sand,
Me
man.
too, bro. But anyway, we finished it up, but on the way back, I actually ended up started drafting a chick.
Oh,
And
a
I
chick
was,
this time.
and I literally thought to myself, it is definitely weirder if I draft a girl instead of
Yeah.
drafting a dude.
Yeah.
So I immediately aborted that mission after doing that for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, if you're gonna draft, at least pick the bro to draft, even if he's
Yeah.
looking back. Like, don't worry about it, man.
So anyway, we ended up finishing whatever, and I got my little medal, and then that was it. But anyway, the drafting issue, I'm not even that fast, but I was like, dude, but maybe I'm that slow where I need to draft. I don't know. That's one way. That's the only way I look at it. Anyway, all right, we got good stuff. We're live today. Facts, lies, and one truth. You got I'm Ox. He's Meisch. Two Joes want to be pros. We haven't even talked about it. Are we doing an episode next week?
So I will be out of town next week. So that's where
Yeah.
I'll be in San Diego. You know those work meetings, they take up my entire life. So I was
It's
gonna
better if we
say,
don't.
so Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So try to get it out earlier,
Okay.
than wait until Thursday. So any of those 3 days, I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, because we have the off week, I guess you want to call it that, Pro Bowl, whatever, next week, and then the Super Bowl, the big week after that. So we do have a little bit of, I guess, a lull there. But anyway, I just want to run that by you. This past weekend, I thought it was so the teams, all four teams that had the most yards from the line of scrimmage, lost, went 0-4.
Yep. I heard that.
You heard that too? Okay.
Yeah.
Any thoughts with the NFL officiating favoring the Chiefs? Do you think it's true? Do you disagree with
No.
the calls? I mean, you're a Chiefs fan. Does it count?
So okay, so here's the thing. Yes, I'm a Chiefs fan. Here, but the other side of the argument is anybody that's not a Chiefs fan is going to say that the Chiefs are aided because everybody's so tired of Mahomes and the Chiefs, just like Brady and the Patriots. Everybody rooted against them. The same thing's happening now. Here's the thing. Initially live, when he was running that ball and then slid and they called the unnecessary roughness on him, live, I was like, oh, that's a weak call. Like, oh, man, fans are going to blast the refs for this. But when you actually slowed it down, and I know this is dumb, when you slow it down by the letter of the law, that was absolutely unnecessary roughness. Unnecessary roughness is defined as contact with the forearm or any part of the upper body with the crown of the helmet. They slowed that down. There is an image. The guy has his forearm driving right into Mahomes' head. By the letter of the book, that was a penalty. It was a little weak, but I don't, and I think Adam Chernoff, if anybody knows who that is, he did a whole segment objectively speaking of why the data shows the Chiefs are not favored from the refs. As in Chiefs games, they have more calls go against them than for them. And that is pure objective data. So if anybody wants to look that up, it's a short clip. He works for Right Angle Sports in Las Vegas. His name's Adam Chernoff.
Yep.
He did a whole segment on it. It was data driven, and he pretty much proved the Chiefs do not get favoring from the officials. And he got blasted for it, of course, because everybody on fucking social media is going to come out and be like, oh yeah, and he made a good point. He said if you get on social media and be like, oh, what a shitty call by the ref, everybody's going to get on there and be like, hell yeah, like, and support you.
Yeah.
Nobody ever gets on social media and like, what a great call.
Yeah.
I can't believe he saw that in real time. You wouldn't get any likes if you did that.
Thankless
Anyway,
job.
so that's my thought on it. Where are you at?
Obviously, I'm on the official. I'm on any sport. I'm on the official side, mainly because I've worked in it. I know their lives. I'm not saying I feel sorry for them. I just know what they're not out to call it. It's not rigged. If it was rigged, then why do we not have more professional sports bettors if it's rigged?
Yep.
Right? If you think it's rigged, then why aren't you winning? Anyway, that's kind of another topic. But I thought, let's go to the call you were specifically talking about. I saw it. I was like, yeah. How it's been called all year. Let's just go with the basics eye test. With how that's called all year, that's definitely a flag. Mm-hmm. The roughing, you know what I mean? That's what it is. I know it looks weird because the Texans players hit each other.
Yep.
Right.
That's why it looked weird. Yep.
But at the end of the day, they still hit Mahomes.
They did it right in the head, right in the crown of the helmet.
Yes. Exactly. Now, do you think that Mahomes gets special attention to those calls being who he is. So therefore he's more likely to get a call like that.
Potentially, but here's what I really think. I think Mahomes is incredibly good at pushing things to the absolute limit to get those calls.
Well, he's a vet.
He's an absolute veteran. He plays the sideline, he plays the guys because he knows quarterbacks overall are protected. And he plays that line very well. And it works for him because sometimes the guys loosen up around the sideline and then all of a sudden he jukes inside. I've seen him do that before. Other time he toes it until the last second to force the defender to make a decision. Hit him, and then he's going to step a foot out of bounds, or don't hit him and he's going to cut it up. So I think Mahomes works the system a little bit, if you will. I do think in the NFL there is a little bit of a different with treatments of quarterbacks. I think big name quarterbacks, they protect a little bit more than, say, a guy like Gardner Minshew. They don't give a fuck if he gets hurt. So I do think overall better quarterbacks have a little bit better protection.
I think so. I think, like an Allen's up there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I think a Burrow's up there.
Yep.
Right? When you kind of I think Lamar Jackson's up there. Tough because he's a runner, but it's still the kind of a roughing the passer would apply still there, I think, for him.
Yeah.
But the officiating, I don't think it's rigged in any way, and I don't think that the cards will pour. I don't think it was steered. Listen, when you miss field goals, you're going to lose a game. When you turn the ball over, Ravens, you're going to lose the football game,
Yep.
right? Yes, I would say, I don't know about the Lions on that front, but a lot of these teams, maybe it looked like they were better, but dude, that's why they lost. Is when you turn the ball over. I mean, yes, on the stats it looks better, but when you turn the ball over, special teams is poor, you're going to lose football games, especially when it's this close of a margin. Man, how close were the kind of to move on from that? How close were the numbers in terms of the spreads this week?
So
Really
tight,
close,
dude.
so tight.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Even in the title game, it was so tight. The college football title game was incredibly tight.
Yeah, that got real crazy late, didn't it? That last field goal made a lot of people money.
Yes, it did, and it cost other people money. Yeah,
True.
And before that, it was sitting right at 8 though, and the line closed at 9. It's like, holy shit!
That is
Texans,
pretty wild.
Chiefs went to 9. Yeah, but going back to that turnover thing, I wanted to follow up on that because here's another stat. Yes, all 4 teams got outgained that are playing this week.
Yep.
Guess another stat. All 4 teams that are playing this week have a combined total of 0 turnovers in the postseason. 0 between all 4 the entire postseason. And that is why when I watch like Chiefs games versus, say, Bills and Ravens, like one, I was like, Ravens look better and Texans look better, just with my eyes.
Right.
But Bills and Chiefs play fucking championship football, man. They just execute in the moments that matter. They make the plays when they need to be made, and they don't make mistakes that hurt themselves. And I'm sorry, but that's the difference.
It is, especially when you have a close margin, close-knit teams kind of like that. I mean, when golf throws interceptions like that, you're not going to win either.
Yeah, what do you have, 3?
Yeah. I hit that bet at 3. Remember, I hit that over 2.
Oh, yes, that's right.
The third one was a little garbage, but nonetheless, it's fine. But yes, correct, 3. Okay, well, we'll kind of go over a little bit where we were right, where we were wrong. I only had 2 bets. I think you only had 2 as well. Be interesting to see when we get into this Bills Chiefs game what you think about this. But where we were right, I got Amari Cooper, the under 21.5 receiving yards. He only had 2 targets in the wild card round, and he had only 1 target for 0 yards catch right in the divisional round. So Amari Cooper ended up being a good hit. Now, with that said, I had over 240.5 Josh Allen passing yards. He wasn't even close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know obviously you could make the argument the Bills weren't necessarily the better team, but they did not have a lot of good passing yards. They didn't have a lot of good passing stats. That's why that played into my favor there. But we were wrong. I was close again, but the Lions failed me. I knew, dude. That's why I kind of excluded the Lions and talking about, we talk about the yards from scrimmage and all. The Lions, I didn't think looked like the better team for majority of the game, even though they probably had more yards. So you know what I mean? Like that was just my thought. So I knew my parlay of Lions, Chiefs, and Eagles, which I'm not a parlay guy, but I hit one in the
round before. Yeah.
Round before, wild card round. So not hitting one here because of the Lions was pretty tough, but I knew that was dead coming out. But
And
anyway,
funny note on that too, you asked the question of these big favorites, who's the teams that loses,
yeah,
right? Who could you see losing?
yeah.
And my answer was Eagles, and your answer was Chiefs. It's just so funny. Neither of us thought the Lions were gonna lose.
Well, because they're the bet. I mean, they're all better. But like, I'm just yes, correct. The Daniels comes back and does it again. I mean, we just kind of went over It was their third straight road game. Now they're going on a fourth straight road game, and they're continuing to do it. I'm not. I just don't. That game's gonna be weird. But anyway, you went back to the teaser.
And the same team cost me. I had Chiefs and Lions.
And you went back to the L column with the teasers there. 2.5.
Yeah, yeah. Spoiler alert. Got another teaser this week, so fuck off. Teasers are where it's at. I'm sorry, the fucking Lions shit down their pants.
You're consistent.
I'm not going away. For the past 3 years, teasers have been so good to me. This year they've sucked. I don't care. I like teasers, man.
Well, it's been a weird year, especially with the favorites having the third best year of all time in sports betting for NFL, right, this year. But that also makes it kind of odd with, kind of the underdogs having a little bit of success here in the playoffs, right, in terms of against the spread. Anyway, a lot of people had that Chiefs -2.5, Lions -2.5 teaser type bet. Right.
Yeah.
So I went.
I'm sure it was super popular. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. But you had Rams Eagles under 44. That, I don't know. Classic NFL. It was kind of close, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? They were late. So.
Yeah, they popped off late.
Yeah, 28-22, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean Rams busted that like 70-yard touchdown, or Eagles, that's all they've done though. They bust the Hurts had like a 40-yard touchdown, Saquon had like 60 and then 74 late.
Yep.
And that's all the Eagles did, man. Big plays and nothing else. We'll get into that, but
yep. Take away Barkley's 2 big runs that you just named. Averaged 2.7 yards a carry.
Oof.
That Eagles offense, again, it's going to come a time when you're going to need Hurts to win because Barkley can't do it all. I mean, he broke 2 big runs, but, when's that? Like, there's going to come a moment. All right, we'll throw up the graphics here. Relatively close. I've just add 1 in the win column, add 1 in the loss column for myself. You 35 and 34. I'm assuming Super Bowl will have a lot, so that this could get a little wild with the numbers here in terms of records. I had a lot on the Super Bowl last year. It was probably the highest in terms of in-game betting. None of that prop stuff like halftime and all that last year. So,
I think I had like 40 bets last year in the Super Bowl. I go ham.
Okay, cool. I did too.
Yeah.
And I had a really good one as well.
Yeah.
We'll have, I'll throw up the action URL codes as well for you here. Joe _ want to be pro for myself. I have all the bets. Live bets are also added. So if you're following along in the game, get a peek there too. And then also you'll see Alex _ Meisch for his, and scan the QR code, or now you know the username. Okay. Moving on, we got some stuff to cover here. NFL Conference Championship week. We got first Bills at Chiefs. Well, no, is that the first one? Bills at Chiefs? Is that at 3 and the Canada Mariners Eagles at 6?
No, flip-flop.
Flip-flop? All right, let's flip-flop it. Sorry, because I have in my notes. It's easier for me to follow along my notes. We'll do Commanders at Eagles first. I hope that works for you.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I have a shit ton on this game, brother.
Take it away then, man.
Okay. Let me start this. I'm going to go on my tight end rant. All right. It's actually on my 3rd page of my notes, but I'm going to start with that. Okay. Because it's a good segue because it kind of covers some older games is why I think I should start there. I texted you this past weekend regarding, there's another tight end that hit under. I think when likely hit it. I'll skim over these really quick. Dalton Schultz, over 37.5, hit it. Kelsey, 54.5, over. Laporta, 49.5, over. Goddard, 38.5, over. Tyler Higbee, over 28.5. Mark Andrews, RIP. I could barely read my own writing. Doesn't matter. He hit both. I think he was in 70 yards maybe or something like that. But I think, or 50, I don't know. Over 42.5, I think is what I have. Likely killed it. He had over 37.5. Only 2 unders. And Ertz was very close. Ertz had 28 yards. Depending on what number you got, I had 29.5. I didn't bet it, but 29.5 was his yards, but he did have a touchdown, so you could have got some anytime touchdown love. And then I would have hit the over on this I would have hit the under on this if I would have saw it, just because he's been so, I don't think he's been really electric since he came back from his injury. Definitely on a prop standpoint is Dalton Kincaid under 35.5.
The guy goes under every week, it feels like.
Exactly.
I don't know why they continue to fucking throw out Dawson Knox out there and not their athletic stud tight end.
Correct.
Bills make no sense to me with some of the things they do.
I think he only had 2 targets, I think. I don't know. The point is a lot of tight ends had a lot of overs, right, going into coming out of last week, coming into this week. So I kind of went to the same thing with the Commanders and Eagles. I jumped on the Goddard over 35.5 reception yards on Monday. The only reason I didn't hit it last week is because he was sick. I know we talked about Katera a little bit on the podcast. Obviously, he came back and practiced and then eventually played pretty well, right? He hit his over in his game. So I'm going back to it. Going Goddard over 35.5 receiving yards, mainly because of Hurts. We don't know. A.J. Brown's not getting any love. They got a lot of issues in their passing game that I don't know what's going on. The sacks alone.
One word, what's going on? Jalen Hurts?
No question. 7 sacks last week allowed by the Eagles. If you go look at their line, they grade so well. They have the best left tackle in the league.
Well, look at Jalen Hurts' time to throw, though.
I know. If you watch the game, though, the pocket was a bit of a mess a lot. It's just weird, though. Like, the grades don't match up with what you see. So it's classic analytics aren't necessarily what's on the field. So I don't know if it's play calling. I don't know what's going on.
I'll say this. I was listening to a podcast just earlier today, and they referenced a PFF grade.
Okay.
And this was big to me. I picked up on this because right after he referenced it, he's like, you can take it or leave it since it's a PFF grade, which made me think like, oh, I don't think professional bettors love PFF grades because this is like a pro bettor. This is all he does.
Yeah.
And the only reason I thought of that is because we've talked sometimes where I go and look and I'm like, my eyes just don't see this 85 grade across the board. Like what?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to take your thunder.
No, you're good. No, it's just the whole Eagles line is graded well, but it's probably because, and you look at the pass coverage ranks, they're high there too. It's not like, oh, well, it's kind of maybe jaded because they run so well, right? Barkley's such a good runner, but I don't know. I got some stuff though, that is extremely interesting. It's the 5th, and I alluded to this earlier, 5th straight postseason where underdogs have a 500 or better record against the spread. So the underdogs kind of, at least in, I guess, recent times, they own against the spread here in the postseason, where the favorites had the 3rd best ever in the regular season for this year for the NFL. So that was pretty, yeah, I know. Underdogs and conference championship. This is usually where it ends. So I just gave you the greatness of the underdogs in the postseason, right? Last 5 years. This is where it ends, is the conference championship week. Since 2003, 20-22 against the spread, which is the worst of any round in the NFL playoffs for underdogs. So this is where it ends. This is where the underdogs coming up, they kind of meet their maker, I guess. This is interesting to see how this comes into play. I don't know if you have any of this. I know sometimes you're a first half guy, second half guy, especially with the spread. Mainly a first half guy, but interested to see what this stat. Teams leading at half in the conference championship or Super Bowl are 20, 32, and 3 against the second half spread in the last 20 years.
Makes sense.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One thing to note, the Commanders lost their right guard this past week.
Cosme.
Yep, you're right. Yep, Cosme, and then they got what's the guy they're putting in? He's been in the NFL, I think, 6 years and whatnot. Trent Scott. He's usually a tackle. He's moving to right guard as a replacement. So he did get some snaps last week. I don't know how that much is going to factor in. They're not really an elite running team anyway.
No, they're not. But you're going against an elite D line.
True, a very good D line. But you also have Daniels that can scramble well. So I don't know how much that's going to factor in, but I did have that as a note. And then I ended up. A lot of people that I've read like the over, but Sean Hockley is the 2nd best official to the under in the league, and it's over 10-mile-an-hour winds this weekend. So,
does that get into 15, 20 at all wins?
No.
Okay.
No. So that's not a play for you, but if you're an under person, that definitely supports it. I did slide on, this is not a best bet, the Goddard is. I did slide on Armstrong, which is the edge rusher for the Commanders.
Got it.
Yep, the edge rusher for a sack. I did slide in on him just because of the 7 sacks last week. I think it's worth giving it a shot. There, I can't remember if I got it at. We have plus money here. I got it up here. I got plus 185. I felt that was worth it.
Yeah,
Right, I
good
got it.
number.
Yeah, threw it in over a unit. I thought it was strong. I've hit on him earlier this year, so I'm gonna keep kind of that going. The only thing, if you're looking at a spread here, is it's the fourth straight road game for the Commanders, right? This is where the underdogs against the spread usually fall, right? 20 and 22, right? We just saw that number since 2003. I just don't know. I mean, I'm going to follow you kind of here. I think you did it last week. You have to correct me. The 23 and a half reception yards for Eckler. I don't know if you're going back to the well
Oh
here.
yeah, I did. I did do it the last 2 weeks now. Is that right? I can't even remember actually. I did it 2 weeks in a row. I can't remember if it was the final week in wild card though. I don't think I did it last week.
You didn't do it last week. Okay, we hit it last week.
So,
You had 40, right? 40 or so.
wow, damn.
Yep. Anyway, I got Goddard over 35 and a half reception yards, and then Zach Ertz over 29 and a half reception yards. Both are best bets. What you got?
You like the tight ends in the matchup?
I do. I feel like we saw all this shake out in the division round. I'm going to get screwed here in the conference championship round.
Yeah, I mean, I get you were texting me. And it was like every tight end was blowing up their over. So
I know.
yeah, they were. Man, this is there's a lot to this game. Commanders prior to last week, I mentioned this before, had won their previous 5 games on the last play of the game. Luck rankings, they're a pretty lucky team. I mentioned they haven't had a turnover this postseason. Jaden Daniels has only even had one turnover-worthy play this postseason. Anyways, all the data supports that Washington is a lucky team and they are due for regression. That's what the data supports. That's why this number opened at 4, 4.5, jumped to 6, 6.5. Is because of that. Eagles, on the other hand, and going against Jaden Daniels too. Rookie quarterback is winless in the spot in the division round. Very poor against the spread as well. He seems different, but this spot has not been good to rookie quarterbacks. Going to the other side, the Eagles are so dependent recently on big plays on offense, which I mentioned in the right-wrong section. It is either chunk plays or they suck.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts is nursing an injury. That's another reason this line opened low, is because we didn't know what Jalen Hurts' status is. Apparently on Twitter, there are like doctors, I suppose, sports doctors that say what they think it is, and they think it's a strained ligament in his knee. So play through it, but probably not as mobile, which is why his rushing prop last week was 40. This week it's 30. Which I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I should go for his rush attempts over and not the rushing, since maybe that'll be deflated too, but maybe he still gets a lot of tush pushes. Couldn't even find the rushing attempts. Couldn't find it.
Yeah.
I think the books are kind of protecting themselves on that. Anyway, so I was talking with a friend earlier today. He lives in Philly, massive Eagles fans, and if anybody knows an Eagle fan, they are loud, they are boisterous, they love their Eagles.
Yeah.
But he said to me, he's like, "What do you really think of the Eagles, man? What's an outsider think?" I said, "Here's what I think. They have the best roster in the NFL. They should win the Super Bowl. Their roster, top to bottom, offense, top 3 offensive line in the NFL, 2 stud wide receivers, one guy that can have separation, another guy that's just going to go get the fucking football and AJ Brown, and every one-on-one. You have the best running back in the NFL. You are loaded. No team can cheat how they play against you. They have to be honest. The fucking problem, and the defense. The defense is so good. Their rookies have come on. Their defensive coordinator's good. They've gotten better throughout the year. There's one problem, and that one problem is Jalen Hurts. I do not trust Jalen Hurts. Ever since the Super Bowl, I remember when I watched him play the Super Bowl, I was like, all right, respect. I'm gonna throw some respect on Jalen Hurts. Ever since then, I have been so down on that guy. He has the best protection in the NFL. He still takes a shit ton of sacks. He's got guys all around him that are absolute studs, a great offensive line, and he just can't get it done, man. He cannot get it done. He is going to have to throw the football because Washington, I think they'll be smart. I think Dan Quinn will be smart, and they're going to stack the fucking box and make Jalen Hurts beat him. That's what I would do. I would make Jalen Hurts beat me with his arm. He's probably not going to be very mobile. Make that motherfucker beat you with his arm. So I don't have a bet on the side because of all this. And 2 of Jaden Daniels' 3 worst games by EPA and success rate, 2 of those 3 games were both against the Eagles. until the fourth quarter. He kind of turned it on. But either way, it was the Browns and the 2 Eagles games. Those were his 3 worst games this year. So he hasn't done great against the Eagles. I know they came back last game. Kenny Pickett ended up playing most of that game, though, because Jalen Hurts, that's when he got the concussion. Anyways, this is all just to say I don't really have faith in either team, because you look at Washington, the data say they've been pretty lucky so far, even towards the end of the year. Eagles, I just see Hurts continuing to downtrend, and I don't know if he can go win a football game. But the Eagles roster is 100 times better. 100 times better. Washington does not have a roster to be in this spot. They're in the spot because of one guy.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I don't even know how to play props, man. Because I don't know what to do about Jalen Hurts. I don't trust taking Saquon's under, because if I had to, I mean, his number's at 127. That's insane. I would lean under there. Not doing it. So this is just a tough game. I'm excited to watch it and love all these kind of counter viewpoints that I've been thinking about, but it just hasn't led to anything. And that's not that's not crazy for this spot. When you get to this point in the year, the lines are tight as fuck. We talked about it with the championship games. Anyways, that's a lot of me saying to get nowhere, but I think there's a lot of interesting angles to look at for the game.
Barkley's for rushing yards, is 131.5. That's skyrocketed from where it opened. Is there a threshold? I like the under here because that's the strength of the Commanders' defense, is their rush defense. Mm-hmm. Especially with the big plays, you take those away, the 2 of them, only 2.7 yards a carry. I like under here, but is there a threshold? He's been giving me over 2,000 rushing yards. Kind of hard to sell an under for him here on that, but I do like that. I would bet that right at kick.
I agree.
If that gets in the 137 range, I mean, come on.
I think a lot of Joes are still going to come and keep betting that up, so I just wait.
Also, something to note here: if you count week 10 big time throws, Jalen Hurts hit his season high at 4 in week 10. He didn't have a single big time throw until last week with 1. Wow. So he went weeks and weeks without a big time throw. Something happened around week 10 or so, week 11, where if you look at it, it just started to drop off. He started to kind of lose it. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it shook out, because they stopped. I think it's where they stopped getting risky, right? Because the turnover worthy plays went to basically 0. Big time throws went to basically 0, right? Everything went down a lot. Now, they were still letting up some sacks. The playoffs is quite weird, right? They played Washington in week 16, right? No sacks. Eagles had no sacks allowed. The Eagles had 2 in the wild card round and 7 last week. If you're saying stack the box here and make Hurts beat you, sack props have got to be live here then, because I'm assuming they're going to blitz. They're going to get after him. They're going to make him throw it with pressure, right? They don't believe in the line. Right? Just, stack it with 8 and then let your guys, let Lattimore and them try to go, defend against a Smith and an A.J. Brown. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Mm-hmm. If I would, I mean, they haven't had a great pass rush against the Eagles, right? 2 sacks in the first game, 0 sacks in the second game. Third game, he switched up and try to get after him here. You know what I mean?
I would think so. Yeah, I think that's a good point. If the plan is to make Hurts beat you, I think that's a good point.
Okay.
I would suspect that. Going back to the Hurts thing, I've heard rumors too that, remember when he had the concussion late in the year, so he missed 3 games, didn't come back to the playoffs. I had heard, and I don't know the timing of this, but you're making me think with that stat about the week 10, not having any big time throws or anything. I had heard that was actually his second concussion of the year, and that's why he needed 3 weeks off. And there was an unreported concussion earlier in the year. And because some pros were kind of talking about that and hinting that, because they noticed some weird shit with him going on too.
I'm dying to know if it was around that time.
That's what got me triggered, is you saying that.
Yeah, I'm really interested to know. I'm looking in his depths of throws. I mean, their play calling changed with him. So they saw something that's like, we need to just use Barkley and figure it out with, Hurts. Because his depths of throws did change, right? I'm trying to look at the average quickly in my mind, but it's about the same, but it's not too bad. Like, obviously, if you take out that Washington, that's the crazy part, is the Washington game. But he only played, 6 total snaps? So that game doesn't even count. If you take that game out, probably about 1.5 yards plus less depth of throw since week 10
Significant.
on average. So you're looking at around probably 7.5 yards or so, 7.5 yards of depth of throw. So something to
That's
consider.
significant, man.
Any
Yeah.
best bets here for the game?
Best bets. Oh yes. So I have Washington teased. I don't think this gets out of hand. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
kind of like what I alluded to with I think Washington's going to be smart here. Eagles are dependent on big time plays. So my teaser is the Bills and the Commanders. Get the Commanders to 12, Bills to 7.5. We'll go over that in a game. I won't. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. That's my only best bet. I considered the over like you, but
Yeah.
then everything else where I'm like, that's all fucking big play dependent. And Washington's kind of been lucky. So I'm like, just staying away. It's frustrating, but
Yeah, I got a good quick stat for you before we move on. Last 20 years of the playoffs, divisional round or later. That's kind of where we're at, obviously. Teams play on their second consecutive road game. Obviously, Commanders are on the fourth, but second consecutive road game of the playoffs or more. Teams are 22-45 straight up. That's 33% straight up. Obviously, that doesn't look good for the Commanders there. But when the game is played inside the division, that's where we're at here. They are 5-6 straight up. So this number gets flipped pretty good here. Okay. Also, the Commanders do have a little bit of extra rest. I don't know if that factors in at all. That doesn't really necessarily factor in for me. But on extra rest, they are 7-4 straight up, 6-4 straight up as an underdog. Division stuff's not really factored in there. So
I think they needed it because remember they came into the Lions game on short rest because they went from a Sunday night game to a Saturday. So I almost think this makes up for it. It's a wipe.
Yep. Oh man. So I think, in my opinion, I think this is the game. So that's why I think if you like the Commanders, I think you go money line for value because this is the game where I think Hurts has to go make something happen to win them the game.
Yeah.
So I think this is it. So if you like the Commanders, I am not on a side, but I think this would be it to go money line Commanders here. All right, I'll let you lead us off. What is this? Fourth straight time. Not straight? That's not true. Fourth time they've met in the playoffs alone, right? Bills at Chiefs. I'm assuming you have more bets on this game than you do the Commanders-Eagles game.
I do.
Okay.
I do have more bets on this game. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Let's pull it up. Yeah, so Mahomes and Allen, they're 4-4 against each other. Problem is, Allen is 0-3 in the playoffs against Mahomes. I think that's a stat that everybody's probably knows because they probably heard it all week everywhere else. As a Chiefs fan, that's probably what scares me the most is just that motivation factor from the Bills. Like, God, you got to get that. They're going to be wanting to get that monkey off their back. Chiefs beat them last year in Buffalo. Man, so this is gonna be this. Obviously, we got another amazing game here. I chose to tease the Bills up because I don't see anybody winning by more than a touchdown. I just don't. This is going to be such a high leverage game. It's going to come down to the final play. I think who makes that final play in the final 2 minutes. Whether it's offense or defense for whoever. So I think you could. If it was Chiefs plus 1.5, I would have teased that way. I also did put money on the Chiefs money line. That's more just a fan bet, so I don't want to, go into it. I don't feel like so strongly that the Chiefs are going to win because watching last week, man, I mean, when I watched the Chiefs play Saturday, I'm like, fuck, they're in trouble. Whoever they play, like they just didn't look good. Rust, maybe because they hadn't played since Christmas. Their starters, but I
Yeah.
thought they got bullied by the Texans. Like the Texans were able to run so easy on them. And the Bills, to my surprise, beat the Ravens by running the shit out of the football and the best rush defense in the NFL, which is good because they weren't throwing much, but they surprised me with how well they're running. So I think they could come out and have some success on the ground here again. And that's probably what they're going to try to do because everybody wants to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hand, limit his possessions, blah, blah, blah. So the Bills probably do that. That's going to keep the game close. Mahomes is going to get it last and break their fucking hearts again. Sorry, everybody. I know everybody hates the Chiefs but me, but sorry. That's the Bills are going to shoot themselves in the foot because they're going to stick to a run game and they're not going to let Josh Allen be the fucking MVP that he is. This is where the Bills kind of drive me crazy. I mean, they just throw so many screens and all these short little things. Let fucking Josh Allen be the MVP, dude. What are you doing, Bills? Also, why are they playing Ray Davis and Ty Johnson so much? James Cook is a stud. We're not playing Dalton Kincaid. we've got no receivers on the outside that can separate. So I don't think the Bills are going to even be able to throw that much. The only reason they can throw is because Josh Allen is breaking 4 tackles and then chucking it, because Keon Coleman can't separate. Amari Cooper is getting 1 target a game. He obviously can't separate. The only guy that can separate on their team is Khalil Shakir. Now, guess what? You put Trent McDuffie on Khalil Shakir because he's the best corner for the Chiefs. He's a quick twitch guy, too. Jalen Watson came back last week. He was phenomenal last year. And then they also have Joshua Williams. They've got good DBs, the Chiefs do. The surprising part is that their run defense has fallen off. So I think they're going to have to stifle Josh Allen, though, because he can still create. The best corner in the NFL can't guard for 6 seconds. So if Josh Allen can run around and create, then that's kind of a null point. Other points on this game, I don't know what to make of the Chiefs because they look so rusty last week. From an offensive standpoint even, and defense, but offensively, like Pacheco has been a shell of himself ever since the injury. That's why Kareem Hunt's getting so much usage. Raising your fist to that one because you were on that. You called that one.
I'm going back.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how the Bills try to defend them because Travis Kelce got 9 yards. We talked about this on a previous podcast the last time they played the Bills, but he seems to always step up in the playoffs. The Chiefs have a few more targets now, Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy. They're not great, but they can separate because they're fast. So I'm interested to see how the Bills play. And the Chiefs, without a rush offense, though, like it's going to be purely on Mahomes' shoulders again. I don't know what to make of this again. I think, it's going to be a last possession thing. And I think if the Bills do try to slow it down, I guess that would support the under. But I could also see, if you like the under, I would go first half because I could see the fourth quarter just like both teams opening up and we get in a slugfest. So I would not go full game under here. I just wouldn't do it. I would do a first half under if you like it.
All right.
Passing it off.
I'm going to go against you all over. I'm going against you all over the place.
Do it.
First half overs in conference championship games are 13-5 to the over in the last decade. So I ain't touching that under in the first half. And the second half under in Chiefs games in the second half is 29-10, 74% hit rate for unders in second half in Chiefs games last 2 seasons.
This is the playoffs, different ballgame.
Okay, I'm just saying. Josh Allen will be the first quarterback ever if he loses to go 0-4 against a team straight up and against the spread.
Oof.
Yeah, Rodgers has it versus the 49ers, but he's 0-3-1 as a push. How random is that? So that's why I said he'd be the first ever that's 0-4, but there's been a quarterback that's never won with 4. This is not a best bet. I have the Bills winning this game. I think this is a toss-up. I think you would be hard to press to say either way. These teams have faced each other so many times in the playoffs. It's kind of tough to choose a side, I think, if you think about it. But with that said, I'd rather take value-wise here, Bills, just based off kind of how poorly the Chiefs played last week. But like you said, it's Mahomes. I said Texans, you're like, why would you bet against Mahomes? Because he finds ways to win. They did last week. Andy Reid too as well. They're at home, which always helps. It's going to be cold, which always helps. But you can't use weather in the playoffs, I don't think, in my opinion, especially with these two quarterbacks. They play in the cold all the time.
Yep.
So don't come at me with weather in a weather play. I've done that. I'm a guy for that. I'm just telling you that's why I'm jumping off of that, because I would not do that. No weather play here. One thing I did have a question for you with Travis Kelce, right? He's approaching a lot of these records, especially in playoffs as a receiver, right? Basically, everybody wants to hammer his over receiving yards for this game, right? He obviously definitely got it last game. We got that. Why is the number so low? If that's so obvious, why is Travis Kelce's receiving yards at 68.5 so low? Are we just using that one Bills game from this year where we only had 2 receptions and basically did nothing, right? As a kind of barometer to make it lower. I just was wondering your thoughts real quick on,
Yeah, that was going to be my answer.
Okay.
I think one, because if you look at the course of the whole season, he's had a lot of dud games. And then versus the Bills, they limited him the most. That would be the only reason I could give you.
Well, here's my pushback. In all 14 playoff games, Travis Kelce hit his over receiving yards in all 14. Like, Yeah, go
That's
ahead.
all. That's all his playoff
Yep,
games. His whole
14.
life, his whole
Yep,
career. Okay,
has hit over receiving yards in every single game.
that's crazy. Wow.
Yes, it's insane. So, like, what's Vegas doing here? This is a low number. No? 68
It
and a half is
is.
a low number. What am I missing? This is, to me, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, this is a too good to be true. So with that kind of stuff, I get afraid. I get scared to death of sports betting when we hit that.
Yeah, I don't want any part of the over.
Okay, over for me is also way too juiced. Minus 135. I'm sorry. The value is not even there for a maybe. Because you always have nothing's a lock in sports betting. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. You taught me that. We've talked about this. Minus 135, that ain't even worth it, in my opinion. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know.
Not at all. Let's look at this. Okay, so real quick here. Number we said, so I've seen anywhere from 67.5 to 69.5 on all books in Colorado, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a push. We'll call it 5, whatever. 6. So in 16 regular season games, he went 6 and 10 to the over. So meaning he hit the under 10 times. So I guess that's maybe why, because pros I would guess would be the ones keeping it down, because every Joe's gonna want to take Kelsey here, right? Especially seeing that number.
Yeah.
So I would think that the data driven pros are probably keeping this down because they're looking at the course load and versus the his last game versus the Bills. That's all I got for you, man. I think it's too good to be true. I don't want any part of the over.
It must be the last 14 games. He's 14-0 to the under. Has to be. Because if you go all the way back to 2019, it's a little different.
That's why when you said 14, I'm like, I feel like they've been in a lot more playoff games because this is the 7th AFC Championship game in a row.
Yeah, if you go all the way back to it, it's a little different, right? I mean, he has never, we'll start with this. He has never had below 71 yards since 2019. And that was against, it was in the Super Bowl that I went to. Shit. That was in the Super Bowl that I was at.
Miami.
No, it was in Miami, and they played the Niners.
Oh, okay.
And they were not the better team that day, but they did win.
Correct. Yes.
I'm sorry, they were the better team for one quarter, which all that matters, kind of, in a way.
You could say that about so many Chiefs games. They were not the better team for 3 quarters.
That's why you always
so many.
If they're losing at halftime, kids, just
bet them live.
Just bet them live money line because the odds are pretty damn freaking good. Like
I did it last Super Bowl. I remember last Super Bowl I got him like plus 4.5, and I was like, okay, $100, like duh. I always text my friends anytime I get a plus number on the Chiefs, I bet it live.
I mean,
it's stupid.
It sounds like, I mean, but it works. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of hard to go over that with that. Sorry, it's 14 playoff games. The last 14 playoff games, I guess that it would be. I have to count, but I'm looking at it here: 3, 6, 9, 12. Yep, last 14 playoff games he's hit over. That makes sense now. I'm looking. I did a quick count in my head. So the last one would have been the Super Bowl versus the 49ers, which he did go on a back-to-back streak where he did not hit his over. Because in the Titans game that year in 19, he only had 30 receiving yards. Okay. So, needless to say, I just don't understand it. Is there a number where you go under here for Travis Kelce receiving yards? Because I do see this going over. I'm sorry. Let me start over. I do see this getting higher, raising the receiving yards.
Mm-hmm. A number that I would go under. Oh, for me, probably get to like 78.5.
78.5. Wow. Okay. That's pretty. I know last 3 games he's shattered that, but you got to think. Last year in the first 2 rounds, 71 to 75, right? Miami had 71, then at Buffalo he only had 75 there. So that's kind of what they're looking at. They're looking at the times that he's played Buffalo, like kind of where do they hit him, right? You're talking about regular season involved as well. They're adding that in to bring it back down. I don't know. That's what I'm watching a lot in this game alone. It's kind of like this Kelce number and how low it is. Is it that much of a lock? Because it's too good to be true in my eyes. We have another Dalton Kincaid at 34.5. Like, Allen doesn't ever throw it to him, right? Especially with they're pretty good. Well, I mean, obviously the Chiefs defense is very good in a general sense, right? And plus you get a very good cornerback as well. You know what I mean? Coming back here last
Mm-hmm.
week. So I do have some bets on the game. I don't have any best bets specifically for this, but I'm going back to Kareem Hunt over 45 and a half rushing and receiving yards that hit last week. You could say it hit in the fourth quarter, which it did. It was at that we had to have the last minute
Last
rush.
carry.
Yeah. It got close. And then we're back to the sack bets. So I do have two sack bets. Darren Armstrong, right, for the Commanders. You said they're going to stack the box. I'm with you, over 1.5 or over a half a sack for him. But in this game, Bills Chiefs, I lost on him earlier in the year, but then he went on a run after that for sacks. Greg Rousseau.
Yeah, got him.
Not a great number, plus 110. But the Chiefs did let up, I believe it was 2 sacks last week. Oh, correction, 3 last week. Their line is still a little shaky. We've seen that kind of all year for the most part. They got better later in the year, but they're a little shaky still. I got Bills winning the game, and I do see some sacks. I think you have a teaser with this, but you're
Bills,
on the teaser side. Are you over 7?
7.5 with the Bills, yeah.
7.5. See, I don't know what to do with this. That's why I just went with value with the Bills W. I could see if the Chiefs win, it's 10. I could.
You could see the Chiefs winning by 10 in this game?
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Chiefs haven't beat many teams by 10 this entire year.
I know. I could. I mean, you got to think. Look at it, man. Last week, Bills can't do shit through the air, bro.
Yeah, because the receivers can't separate, like we talked about.
And they got good corners. Y'all got good corners.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if they get
But
down.
you also like the Bills to win.
Well, because of value. And I do. And it's not a best bet. It's just, I'm feeling it. But I'm just saying, like, if the Bills get down, bro, we got Allen out here. I mean, I would slot in a prop here. If Bills get down, rushing yards for Allen. You know, because if the receivers can't separate, that boy's going to start running his ass off.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to start throwing picks because he's a slinger. I don't know. It's tough to say. If they get ahead, though, I think the Chiefs have the same problem. Outside of Kelsey, they don't do shit.
Yeah. They don't have a rushing game either because that line.
Well, hey, Hunt's okay.
Well, it's been
He's
tough.
okay. He's okay at best.
Yeah, well, ever since they moved Joe Tooney out to left tackle, because their interior has been like one of the best interiors, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But then they took Joe Tooney and moved him to tackle, and he does not grade nearly as well when he's moved to tackle. And that then opens up that left guard position. The backup has not graded very well either.
Yeah,
so
Kelly
they can't.
Yeah.
So like they can't do shit ever because they couldn't solve the left tackle though. And they were kind of like, fuck, we gotta get somebody there, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm on Rousseau here, is because of the right tackle here, kind of moving him around. And plus, like, I don't know if you noticed, but the Milano came back. And Milano had a sack last week.
Yeah, he's got a hamstring injury though. He's gonna play, definitely gonna play, but something to keep an eye on because.
I mean, I don't think Milano won't enter in the prop market, but if he does for a sack market, that'll be at plus 700, plus 500. I'm hitting it.
You are.
Yeah, because I think they're going to blitz.
Value,
I think they'll blitz Mahomes here because they don't think the receivers are shit.
I think if that's your viewpoint, one, Sean McDermott is more of a bend but don't break guy. Play a deep zone, don't allow the big plays though. And if you think the receivers can't separate, you maybe play a tighter man coverage. Yeah, I guess you could blitz on top of that. That's just never been Sean McDermott's card is to blitz a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, and Mahomes, if you look at Mahomes' numbers through his career, he just kills the blitz. So teams don't blitz him as much as they used to, say, 5 years ago, because he just eats them alive.
I know.
So I just don't know how much they blitz.
That could be a second half move. You don't want to blitz in the first half, and then they're like, all right, we got you, bro.
Yeah. On that point, a good life bet would be taking some Chiefs guys in the second half, because what I've noticed with Steve Spagnuolo, he saves a lot of his crazy blitz packages for when they need it in the fourth quarter. Like against the Texans, he did. And you've got guys fucking coming from everywhere and people dropping. And so, like, you get those slot corners with sacks and linebackers and everybody. So that might be like wait until halftime live to take a kind of an extreme number on a Chiefs guy.
Like a
when
Drew
Spagnuolo's
Drew Tranquil. I don't even see him here listed or anything like that. But yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. I mean, Chris Jones is an obvious point, which he's only. The thing is, like, I mean, Chris Jones is an absolute beast, but like, I just don't. Is he a big numbers guy? Like, where was he at in the stat category here for sacks? I didn't really see where he would be listed on that. I just know he's a beast at win percentage. You know what I mean? I do know that, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the stats. Pull it up real quick.
No worries. But yeah, so if you think that's the case, I'll say this. If you think that's the case, 7 sacks on the year for Chris Jones. He did have one last week, though. And then 3 and 15 and 16. 3 and 15, 3 and 16. If you think that's the case, great numbers for second half props for sacks. Great numbers if you're looking around. So highly recommend that if you believe that. Which I'll be looking. I'll be looking. I actually bet a tackles and assist prop last week. Believe it or not. I lost by 1 tackle.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Those, I never do enough research to look at those.
I did
Chris
a
Jones,
little.
You were just off by 1.
Yeah.
That's tight number.
Zach
tight
Bon,
line again.
I think I'm going to butcher his name. Zach Bond?
Yeah.
For the Eagles?
Yeah.
He's actually a pretty good safety.
All pro, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
You are correct. Yes, sir. His number is ridiculous this week, but it's pretty juiced to the under. Minus 130, under 9.5. I would definitely take under there. But
oh, man, that's big. Yeah. Going to Chris Jones. He has 5 sacks in the regular season. They occurred in 3 games.
Yeah.
He had 2 games with 2 sacks and another with 1. I don't like that.
Yeah, especially with I don't know. Allen.
Oh, I mean, what about like an O'Minahue? He came back late in the year. Karlaftis. I think Karlaftis probably won't have a good number either, but
yeah,
I would look away from Chris Jones for sacks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I was at too. Karlaftis there. He just didn't jump off the page for me. And it's not like the tackles for the Browns suck by any stretch too. So that's why it's kind of like, so that's why it's a tough bet. So that you're kind of banking on value at the second half part of it and just hoping for some shit to happen with Allen trying to pass.
Yeah.
Again, if they're 100%. Losing, maybe not a bad bet.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. You ready for best bets?
Let's roll to it.
All right. Let me get it up here. Get my slideshow up. There we go. All right. So I'm going to kind of stick with 2. I'm not going to get crazy here. I'm going to tight ends only. Goddard, over 35.5 receiving yards. Zach Ertz, over 29.5 receiving yards. He was close last week to this number at 28, right? I'm saying he's coming back here, and I think he's going to get it over this week. I think he's going to come back and get it, and I like it. Goddard, the Hurts thing. That's why I think I like the tight end. Depth of throw. Depth and throws being shorter favors tight ends and running backs, of course, as well. Tight ends. So that means Eckler needs a little bit of love too here on the Commanders. So I got a lot of bets in this Commanders-Eagles game. I just feel like there's ways to attack it where, you know how it is when Chiefs-Bills, man, those teams are, they're relatively even, right? We got an MVP. We got 2 MVPs. We got we got a good defense. We got apparently a new running game on the Bills side. I don't know. Anyway, those are my 2 best bets. What you got? Oh, you only got 1.
Only 1, man.
Oh, okay.
This was a hard week. I don't even have a lot of bets out there. I'm not going to have a lot of bets this entire week. Yeah, so I just have the 1 teaser. Bills 7.5, Commanders 12. That's it, man. Hoping for some close games. Hoping we do not get blowouts this game. I'm sure, based on the season, one of these games will go the opposite way.
Commandeers.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to spell it, and I was like, I don't fucking care.
I love it. The Commandeers. This is irrelevant for this conversation, but I'll add it anyway. Such a big. A lot of people, the Redskins are still flying around. Washington football team, a lot of different names out there. It's funny that on VSiN they call them the Commodores.
Oh my gosh, the Commodores. That's great.
There's just a lot of different names they've been called, so it just kind of cracks me up. I'm pretty fired up about it, obviously, with a fellow born Philadelphian. I guess that's kind of what they call him. In the household, obviously, the Eagles game will be watched. I don't know if I want him to make the Super Bowl or not. That sounds like a lot for me, but only because I think this is just my opinion. I don't care Bills Chiefs. I don't. Whoever makes it, makes it. I think you got a good, girthy Super Bowl either way on that side, right? You got Allen Bills, which is they're they're pretty much a quality team. I wouldn't say they're great, but they're solid. And then obviously Chiefs, Andy Reid, and obviously you got the pizzazz that follows them on that side. But the Daniels Commanders have done it again. Talk. That's kind of cool. Right?
Yeah.
All signs point to, in terms of trends, point to against them this week.
They do.
Do they do it
Yeah,
again?
I would love to see the Commanders win too. I think that'd be so cool.
Be pretty nuts. I don't give a shit about a Chiefs-Eagles playoffs, dude, or Super Bowl. I just don't. Not again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like torn because I think Washington would be way more exciting having Jaden Daniels in there. That roster is just not very good, and so I almost worry the Chiefs or the Bills would just fucking rout them. I do.
It just makes you with a fifth. I guess you could make an argument. Fifth road game. It doesn't really count when you're out 2 weeks rest, basically. If the Commanders win it, it's just like, man, do we just bet against Daniels here and just go back with Mahomes? I think the spread would be pretty insane too. I don't know. I put it this way. I would say that the Commanders' luck would run out if they make the Super Bowl. It's 2 weeks to prepare. Mahomes, like you just said, the roster's not as good. Man, but you just gotta love the Commanders and Dan Campbell, right?
Quinn,
yes. Dan Quinn, sorry. Dan Campbell, that's Iowa State's head coach, I think.
No, that's Lions.
No, Lions, sorry. Sorry, Matt Campbell. Gosh, so many Campbells. Man, I think the amount of Campbells that just went through my brain in a matter of about a half a second was way too many.
Name them all.
Yeah, and then I named the wrong one on here. His eagerness on fourth down and aggressiveness and calling so far to go for it and all that at the right time is pretty cool to watch, man. It's I'm digging it. So I don't know. I'll be watching either way. All right. Anyway, you heard the best bets. That's all we got. And we will catch y'all next time. Peace.